get a notification yet?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Here we go. All right. Shalom, Christ Officer of 1,000 Yahanna. This is the mainline history class. SHALAM, we had a few technical difficulties just getting everything set up. Everything should be resolved now. But with that, let's go ahead and get started. Today's class is the history of Labor Day. So we're gonna get into the Black people's involvement, and I'm also bring out how the feminist movement was actually made so that wages can get lowered. Hold on, I'm gonna get into that. All right, so here we go. On January 1st, 1863, the President of the United States issued one of the most important executive orders in American history, Proclamation 95, more commonly known as the Emancipation Proclamation. Though the Emancipation Proclamation is not usually invoked as an example of labor regulation, it is among the most important such measures in American history. The proclamation and later the 13th Amendment constrained slaveholders' economic liberties in order to offer basic freedoms to enslaved workers. As Labor Day approaches, we should reflect not just on the holiday's own important history, but also on how much longer fight to protect American workers. W.E.B. Du Bois famously described the American Civil War as a general strike because of the hundreds of thousands of enslaved people who stopped their work. Because many of them who joined the Union Army, though this strike was quite different from those of the Union movements that would inspire the holiday decades later. Both produced fundamentally important labor regulations, and revisiting the history of American slavery offers a powerful example of what business can look like when the law prioritizes property over people. So basically, it's telling about how it was a strike pretty much on work because of the Civil War, because we were fighting each other. So, well, not us fight, well, kind of us, but because they had some of us in the Union Army and some of us in the Confederate Army, both fighting, you know what I mean? But it was America fighting against each other primarily. So they were fighting against each other. So, and that's why they said it was a strike, because you're not able to work if you're fighting in the military, right? All right, many slaveholders were skilled business people, and plantation record books offer a paper trail that shows how they blended violence and innovation in the pursuit of profit. So the slaveholders, they were what they call skilled business people. So what a skilled business person doesn't necessarily mean that you're all the time skilled and you learn how to make things work. Skilled business people just mean that typically you're very cheap. You don't want to pay people. That's how America gets put on as a skilled businessman. They call them what's the word they try to use for business people? They try to say that they're what's the word?
Business people, immigrants, entrepreneurs.
No, it's a word like they say he's a something businessman.
Self-made.
No, not they'll say that too, but it's another one. But it means like fierce. He's a something business. I'm trying to think of that word.
Distinguished.
No, it's just means fierce. Distinguished means that he stands kind of like he stands out a little bit.
I'm trying to put it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that word that it was, but they'll say a word I've heard too is staunch business owner. They'll use different words. They'll try to say that this person he's very stern. He's about his money, about his business. That's what they'll try to say. But a lot of times it's just all it is really greed. It's not necessarily owning businesses, because if you have a business, for instance, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to use your business to help people.
Right.
Most business owners don't do that.
Right.
Right. What do? They use the money that they have to make themselves richer and to basically what's the word? oppressed everybody else, oppressed the poor, right?
Right.
And you're gonna be primarily that poor.
Right.
So, that's their whole. So it doesn't mean that they're all the time in business, they're smart, all of this stuff. It doesn't mean it just means that they're cheap. A lot of times, they're in the 17s and 1800s or whatever, when Great Britain and England and all of them was coming over here, man, they whatever land they was catching, they was getting from the Native Americans and they was fighting the wars, they was giving out land grants to people, right? Yeah, they were giving out land grants. So you coming in to go fight against the Native Americans, and then as you winning, they just giving away land for free, giving away land for free, giving away land for free. I'm talking about millions of acres just given away. So if you were one of those recipients, now you got the people that are, you got some, land is a form of generational wealth, right? So you can do stuff like take loans out on that land, start a business. You can do so much with that land that you have. So a lot of those people that owned a bunch of land were able to take, equity off the land and buy slaves. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just like anywhere, if you know anything, Caucasians know how to work the system, whatever system they have.
Right.
Like they want to talk about black people getting those PPP loans. The issue of it is we got the PPP loans, but we didn't know how to legalize illegality.
Right.
They got the same thing, but they legalized it so that they didn't go to jail for it. Now you got brothers and sisters going to jail, and that's how they're gonna pay back the PPP loans.
Right.
Your Labor Day. That's what you getting for Labor Day. You getting put to labor. All right. So they say they were skilled business people. They really weren't. They were just cheap. Probably a lot of them got land grants, government, like real government handouts. They trying to say welfare is a government handout. Man, that's crumbs.
Right.
Off of what America gets, that is crumbs. Right? I think they said it don't even make up a 0.5% of the national what the America spends. It doesn't even make that much for welfare. But they're always saying we need to cut our welfare programs and stop giving it to these black people. They're lazy or whatever. I'm like, all black people need to get welfare because that's reparations for what the hell we built in this country.
Right.
Those $5 Indians, they get it.
Right.
They get way more than your little $300 of food stamp money. They getting like thousands of dollars. They ain't gotta work. Matter of fact, that might be a good class subject. $5 Indian. They ain't gotta work. Write that down for me.
Come on down.
They don't have to work. They just like I seen on the thing. They don't have to do nothing, man. They just sit there. They got all their bills paid for. They got their rent paid for. All of that. They just sitting around doing whatever. Most of them getting high.
Right.
Right? They ain't got nothing else to do. They ain't got to work. But you still got to work. Even though you got your food stamps, you still got to go to work. Because they ain't going to pay your light bill. They ain't going to pay your gas bill. You might be able to get a little subsidized rent. But that's it. But you living in the projects.
Right.
They living in nice apartments or houses. You living in the projects. You got to worry about somebody breaking in your door every day.
Right.
Right? And it shows here how they blended violence and innovation in the pursuit of profit, right? The innovation, you think that they innovated and did things. The only thing they innovated was more torture.
Right.
So black people during this time, we would go and make inventions, and our slave master would get all the credit for it.
So like you, sir, there's another word for how you said they wanted to blend in their schemes along with violence and such with their ulterior motives. Is another word for another phrase for that, sir? Manifest destiny as well. That's like the ending of it. The manifest destiny
is kind of like the whole thing.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So the whole thing of manifest destiny is because I'm a Christian and these are savages, I should own this land.
All right.
Because like what they do, because you know how the Israelites own this land, own the world, we're supposed to own the whole earth, right?
Okay.
Because they were saying that they're Christians, now they own the whole land.
All right.
And if you're not a Christian, you don't own it. It's not yours.
Okay.
That's what manifest destiny meant. And it meant that you can enslave them because they're not a Christian.
Understood.
So that's like a part of it.
Okay.
You're not off, but it's like that's like a, you know, the whole manifest destiny is still going on now.
Okay.
But that prophet was in the middle somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So this is still manifest destiny.
Okay.
So manifest destiny, they take your land and convert you to Christianity. That's still part of it. Because you still Christians.
Right.
We still Christians, hard and heavy Christians.
Right.
All right. So planners tracked enslaved people's productivity with a label to attention akin to that used by most contemporary factory managers. So they tracked their productivity, like they wanted to make sure they was producing enough, they was picking enough cotton and whatever tobacco or whatever they was growing, sugar cane, whatever, right? This was more pronounced on cotton plantations where data-minded planners tracked output on an individual basis. One enslaved man describing weighing the amount of cotton picked by each individual slave 3 times per day. Others describe how picking data was recorded on slates before being transcribed to gridded record books, the 19th century equivalent of spreadsheets. So, you know, they would put it on slates like rock or whatever, you know, whatever they had, and then they would start putting it on record books. So that's like your spreadsheet. So they say, okay, this person got 3 pounds of cotton. This person picked whatever, you know what I'm saying? So then they were able to look at it and say, okay, you're not picking enough cotton. You need to up your production. You only been averaging, you know, 3 pounds. I need you to average 5 pounds a week. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Surviving books contain thousands of data points, offering minute views of productivity on an individual basis, up to the minute views. Right? Slaveholders put this data to work, using it to undermine the maximum amount of labor people could perform and pushing them to attain that maximum. So like, you know how some days you go to work, you good, you can work harder, and some days you like not feeling it, they ain't got no time for that. You gotta work the same thing every day. Right?
Okay.
So it don't matter if you sick, you ain't feeling good, hey, this your maximum output. You need to do this every day. You've been picking 5 pounds. I'm sure it's probably heavier than that, but I'm just using as a number.
Okay.
So you've been picking 5 pounds a day, and now you want to pick 3 today because you sick? No. You got to pick 5. So even though you ain't feeling good, you still got to pick 5. Right? To accelerate picking rates, slaveholders relied on incentives, such as small rewards of cash or clothing. But they also dispense harsh whippings. So you got a little bit of cash, they'll give you a quarter, or, you know, an equivalent today, $1, a couple of dollars, or $5 or something like that. You know, back then, you know, a nickel was some money.
Right.
You can buy like a meal with a nickel down there. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they would give you, you know, something. They'll probably give you, you'll get like, you know, you'll get a piece of cake or whatever the case is, make you feel good, right? Some dessert instead of eating what all the other slaves got. They would try to do that. And then we'll try to, hey, we'll give you a little bit better clothes. So your clothes ain't all dirty. You're gonna feel a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? Feel a little bit better in your clothes that you're working in. Go ahead.
So it's like another form of divide and conquer amongst our people.
Of course. Because then you're gonna be trying to be that person. They do the same thing in basketball, in sports. Do the same thing. Let them give one a little bit more money or whatever.
Okay.
They'll get them a little bit more money. They would don't think those Reeboks deals and Nike deals just come. You know what I'm saying? They gotta let them come in to get it, right? They gotta let them come to get them deals. The agent gets those deals too. So you think LeBron just getting those deals like that?
Right.
He going through he got to go through all of the NBA. Everything got to get signed off on to go there. That's why if you notice, if somebody do one thing wrong, all of those things get canceled.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
All those things, because you got to go through the NFL to get all of that, or the NBA. You got to go through all of that. But your contract you sign, it involves all of that. It's almost like equivalent to like a 360 deal, sort of like.
All right.
So when you sign that, you sign all that, right?
Okay.
So go ahead.
It's like I always, when I would hear that, I always thought that they would just follow suit because it might look bad for them. So like an image wise.
That's part of it.
Okay.
That's part of it. But they're all together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you think Nike ain't working with the NBA? You think they don't have board meetings and they don't play golf together? Come on now. You think they don't play golf together? The owner of Adidas or Reebok don't play ball with the dude from the NBA, what's his name, Silver, or that's just the commissioner, I believe. But you know, you think they don't all play golf together? That's why when you see all the when you can see all the people they play ball with, because like when you know how you see all those different companies, when you watching the game, you see all those different companies for they logos everywhere.
Right.
They all in it. They have meetings at least once a year. Well, all of those people that come in, they all come to a meeting. Like this is what they do, because like I used to work at this one company before, and how do I put it? Like once a year, like I one time I came in there, I was driving over the road, and I came in. That's when they had a board meeting. Like they had all of the meetings of the board, all of the investors, all of that. They would all go to they have like a little meeting, and then they had like a ball where they would go have networking events and all of that. That's what they would have for all the investors.
Wow. Okay.
So they do the same thing. They'll have meetings. Of course, you ain't gonna know nothing about it,
right?
Because it's invite only.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It don't they're not like us. They don't go posting on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. You ain't gonna see all of that. You go tell your investors, you ain't gonna see all of that.
Right.
So, but that's what they do. They have meetings. They set up these meetings. So then, if you do something, they hey, let's make a phone call, get rid of them, or whatever, right? Let's make a phone call. They probably got the same. What's the name? You know, the people that like you have a company, like you have you got people that tell you what to say, publicists.
Yeah.
They probably got the same publicist, same publicist company. Why you they come in, right? How you think they already got stuff for LeBron James? They already got his publicist, they got his business manager, they got all these things set up because they're all in it together.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
A lot of people, they have an issue because what they want to do is they want to get out of their stuff and get into their own. So that's what it's like same thing with music. They want to get that's why they want to leave and start to get on their own label.
Right.
It just music is a little bit more freer than the NBA. So yeah, they all want to get on and do their own thing because they don't want to have that control over their head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all the same thing.
Okay.
You understand how this devil works, man. The one thing about devils is two things that's very important to them. Right? It's two things. This is like very important that even black people, even people in the school need to know. You know what I'm saying? But it's like the two things that you have to do to take over these people. First thing you got to do is mess up the economy.
Right.
That's number one. Second thing you have to do is you have to make public image.
Right.
Those two things right there will put them on their knees.
Right.
Because here's what they use. They use their money like the American dollar is like the standard for the whole world. If you ruin, which part of that is crypto. Crypto is ruining a lot of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't tell you that, but crypto is ruining a lot of the economy, right? Hell, even big businesses, I can't remember the name of it, but a big business just invested like couple $100 million in crypto. Yeah, a big company just did that. So that's messing up the economy. You know, to not to a large degree, but it's messing it up, right? So because of inflation, of course, right? So on that you got and then that's why we speak on the streets, because we're trying to ruin their image.
Right.
Because their image is who? Caesar Borgia. That's who their image is.
Right.
And the only way you can make them, because here's what they have. They have you economically.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're not enslaved anymore carnally, you're enslaved monetarily.
Right.
Right. So now you can't, like, okay, if you start working, you're gonna be homeless, you'll be on the streets. Right? Mm-hmm. So you're basically getting enslaved monetarily.
Right.
Right? And then with the image, you think of, like, when you think of being successful businessman, even being successful businessman, you thinking of, you want to go to these parties we were just speaking of. You don't want to start like you were just showing me earlier where they had the Black Pack.
Right.
Right? We had, black comedians, Eddie Murphy, had who else you said it? Who was that?
So like it's Eddie Murphy, Paul Mooney, Robert Townsend, Arsenio Hall, and one more person I couldn't think of. Oh, Keenan Ivory Wayans.
Yeah, Keenan Ivory. Those are the titans of comedy, especially in the early 90s. In the 80s, those was the titans of comedy. You know what I'm saying? They all had large followings, and this before Instagram, mm-hmm. Facebook, all of that. They all had large followings, good business sense, right? And they couldn't get it all together,
right?
Keep it together, right? So, and that's why whenever we have something, we can't keep it, because what they try to do? They wanted Pee Wee Herman. They gave him an honorary black card. He's now black, and then shortly after, they just divided it all up because they don't come together. So instead of us having our own meetings that we exclude them from, that's why Passover is so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Because they ain't no devils coming in there.
That's right.
So we don't exclude them from anything. But they exclude us.
Right.
Right? Now you might see a couple speckled in as black somewhere, but how long did they have to get that established?
Right.
Hundreds of years.
Right.
Before they even let a black face get in there.
Right.
And now as soon as you start something, you want to invite them in. So then what they gonna do? They gonna come in, divide and conquer. Right. Look at what Jimmy Heller did to was the dude from NWA. Remember Jerry Heller? Mm-hmm. Jerry, whatever the hell his name is. Right. He came in, pulled Eazy-E away from all of them. Right. And then Jimmy Iovine came and got Dr. Dre.
Okay.
So they went and pulled them in all these separate directions. And now the group that was there before, which mainly was the main people, of course, was like I.S.U.P.K, DLC, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E. Yeah, they pulled them all apart.
Right.
And then what's the name started some movies. I.S.U.P.K started making movies. Mm-hmm. It was nothing against the movies, but they lost the unit that they had. They started beefing. And they even before Eazy died, they even talked about getting back together. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden he got AIDS and he dead now.
Right.
Like months later. You know what I'm saying? I ain't conspiracy theorists, I'm just saying.
Right.
But so they were talking about, they all had a meeting, they was gonna talk about getting back together. Because they realized they was more powerful as a unit.
Right.
Then they are trying to do their own separate thing.
It's like if I could, it's real heavy how you bring this out, what I'm saying, with this knowledge and the history when it comes to Labor Day. You mentioned how like you can break the economy and break the spirit of the image.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It will collapse. And if I could, sir, that's similar to Hollywood, or as they call Hollyweird. And I keep seeing these videos. Oh yeah, like we're exposing the secrets. We're exposing the secrets when it comes to Hollywood and such. But two things that I've noticed when it comes to when these people want to quote unquote they want to expose the secrets. They never say any names.
Oh heck no.
They never say any names.
No.
And no matter what, even they say, oh yeah, this stuff been going on for years and everything like that. Those same people who want to expose the truth are still in it, and they don't leave.
No, they don't.
They don't leave, sir.
What was I watching? Man, let me see if I can find it. This might be another class too.
No, it's like that's what I'm saying. Like how you mentioned being a slave spiritually, being a slave monetarily, because these people, you understand, they still serve their oppressors in that life. They still depend on that image. If I could, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Damn, if I can find that video. I was watching something of I might have to do this. Text me, send me another one. Bohemian Grove.
Sir?
Bohemian Grove.
Come.
Bohemian Grove.
Come.
Bohemian Grove. But basically, that's like a secret society.
Uh-huh.
That's what they call it. I don't call that. That's just what they like to try to give it some mystique. All it is a bunch of rich people. They get together and plan out how to be richer.
Right.
So if you want to call it a secret society, go ahead. But I just call it, they just rich. They bored as hell because they're so rich. You know what I'm saying? They can't, they can do whatever. So everything's boring to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they try to do stuff to try to get excited about stuff that's goofy.
Right.
So that's why, even you said Hollyweird. That's Hollyweird. Why is it Hollyweird? Because they can get whatever they want.
Right.
There's I ain't gonna go too off, but I heard there's a website of them people, them people that got money out there in Dubai,
mm-hmm.
where they'll have an Instagram model come over there, and they said, okay, I'll give you $100,000 if you mess with my camel.
Right, or to defecate on.
Yeah, defecate on all these different things.
No, I've heard of that.
So because they so rich, they're bored. They just want to see something like, dang, she really let them do that. Mm-hmm. It's exciting to see what they can have because money is nothing to them. Okay. Money is like water. Okay. So it's just it's like another excitement to see how much people will lose their mind over what is chump change to them.
Okay. I mean, like I said, if I could, it's amazing to them to see, how low they will stoop, or if we could, with how you said with the class, how much they'll work for it, how much of their labor they're willing to sacrifice, sir, if I could.
Yeah, they're really giving their whole self-esteem. They ain't gonna let a camel defecate on them,
right.
Or they'll lay with a camel just for $100,000. Right. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but is that worth your dignity?
Right.
Is that worth that? I mean, it ain't worth it to me. But I guess it's worth it to them. It's like, but that's like a get off for them. They get off on that because it's some Instagram model that nobody else can touch. But they got some pocket change. They say, here, and they gonna put them in the worst position that they can ever be in,
Right.
in the most humiliating
Right.
position, and they would do it for it. So that's like a new version of excitement. They got like a website where they go and show, all of the girls on there that's doing all of this stuff. They'll show it all. I don't know the name of it, but it is a website out there that does that.
Wow.
So, but yeah, so that's what they do when they get their money, right? They want to make you more of a slave. That's what rich people, that's what a lot of these wealthy, I don't want to say rich, because rich and wealthy is completely different. Rich just mean you straight.
Right.
Wealthy mean that there's almost nothing you can do to lose your money.
Right.
Unless you just give away everything. That's the only way you can get rid of your money. You just say, here you go, have it all. And that's it. But they wealthy. So they'll just, like I said, they'll just pay out, some $100,000. That's to you is like, $1, something going to the dollar store.
Right.
You go buy some at the dollar store. That's what that is. $1 to them was nothing. So, all right. Let's get here. So they gave them lashes if they didn't pick fast enough. So they didn't. So people didn't want to get whipped on.
Right.
Right. And all these efforts, slaveholders benefited from immense, largely unregulated power from over-enslaved people. This control enabled enacting management. For example, as the punishing and semi-industrial agribusinesses that grew and refined sugar, planters could move enslaved people from task to task at will, systematically choreographing their labor. A British traveler touring the South concluded, free labor cannot compete in the manufacture of sugar with better organized slave labor. So it can't compete with the better organized slave labor because they organized them. So they were basically to make them more efficient, they were moving to one task and the next task and the next task, and they keep them moving. And they punished them by whipping them, right? Mm-hmm. So with that, they was able to get more work out of them than if they just had somebody working for free. All right, fortunes were won or lost on investments in people. To track these investments, many slaveholders took regular inventories of enslaved people, using them to trace the appreciation and depreciation of human capital. So you was like a car or a house to them. They track your appreciation and depreciation. So as you get to like 25 or whatever your 20s, you appreciate it, but after that you started depreciating, of course. So these inventories included ages, occupations, and values. So you go by your age, with the occupation, like say if somebody that did metal works, they might have been more valuable, right? And they help planners to compare their gains and losses from year to year. Knowing how much enslaved people were worth could even help planners acquire credit. So now they can get credit off of your work. Just like I said, they had the land. They was able to get credit to buy slaves on. Now they using you again to get credit. Wow. Which they often secure with human collateral. Planners often accounted for the people in the same way they accounted for livestock, with slaveholders literally constructing balance sheets denominated in the units of human lives. An initial inventory plus births equal a final inventory minus deaths. While they might seem to think about an economy with slavery as one with a free market, slaveholders believed that owning people was an economic freedom. That's manifest destiny. They felt like it was manifest destiny to do that. Mm-hmm. they view emancipation as a curtailment of their liberties. So they felt as though it was a, like, our first thing Caucasians do is they say, I know my rights.
Right.
This is a right, according to them, to own black people, right, as a slave. And the end of slavery expropriated their property and restricted the way they were accustomed to doing business. Sociologist Orlando Patterson once described in the 18th and 19th century slave world as capitalism with its clothes off. So he described it as capitalism with its clothes off because he said it was bare naked. It was not it wasn't getting dressed up, right? This was straight up, just straight capitalism, a phrase that evokes wilderness of exchange, not yet regulated in ways that protected workers. So they were saying like they were unprotected because they didn't have no clothes on. Basically, like if you're out in the woods, you have lack of clothing, right. You're more able to get, injured by things because you have less protection on you. That's what he was saying. There was no protection. All right. Without laws like the ones that came out of the movement that produced Labor Day, workers have to depend not on the protection of the law, but on the kindness of their employers. So this before unions and all of that. That's part of Labor Day too, right? Is unions. So they didn't. No, they had to. So instead of a law or something protecting you, from getting abused by your employer or your slaveholder, they didn't have it. You just had to pray they was gonna be nice today, right? What the Bible say? It said you was gonna be unsure of the day or the night, all of that, right? An individual goodwill often does not go very far. So he said if you do goodwill to him, it doesn't get you very far. So if you turn in some slaves that was trying to escape, you just get, like a little trinket. You get some more clothes, you get some, a little bit of cash. That's pennies to them. Mm-hmm. That's what you get, right? Like the 100,000 that women would get for going over there selling their dignity. That's what you get, the same thing. Take Thomas Jefferson, who had deep misgivings about aspects of slavery and even advocated against the slave trade, yet only freed a handful of the hundreds of men and women he enslaved. He only freed a handful, right. But he said he felt bad about it. See, these devils, you think that they're immoral, but they're amoral. Right. Amoral means they don't have morals. Immoral means you go against morals. Amoral, they don't have any at all. They're without morals. Right? Right. And that lesson about the need to protect workers is still crucial. There are, of course, vast distances between the conditions facing American workers today and those experienced by the slave workers in the 18th and 19th centuries. However, unsettling parallels can be drawn between slaveholders and modern capitalists. These include a willingness to go to immense lengths in the pursuit of profit. So they will go to immense lengths in trying to get profit, right? They don't care if they got to lie, cheat, steal, whatever. They will try to get profit. Often to the very edge of what the law allows, and aspiring to change the law when it does not serve their interests. Much like modern industry representatives protesting legal restrictions, slaveholders lobbied hard to protect their property and profits. Eventually, they seceded from the Union to safeguard their human capital. As the state of Georgia argued in the secession documents, the North had outlawed 3 billion of our property in the common territories of the Union. So they felt away. They felt like, how you all been at companies, and how like if a new legislation comes and it affects the company that you're working at, okay, it affects their profit. Okay. they start lobbying and start trying to fight against those legislation, right? That's what they were doing, fighting against that, trying to lobby, which means pay off, basically.
Right.
When you're lobbying, it's paying off people. So whoever pays the most wins. President Trump, of course, it was made a while back, has made rolling back federal regulations as a cornerstone of his policy, and claims that he does so in order to help workers by helping the economy. However, while simplifying and streamlining regulations may be worthy goals, when it comes to labor, these goals must be put in the context of a long history of highly successful and critically important regulations, including the end of bonded labor, human freedoms, including the right to earn a just wage and safe conditions, should always outweigh the pursuit of profit. Right? Okay. Let's go to here. Second wave feminism. You're probably wondering how this ties in, right, to Labor Day. Okay. Second wave feminism was a period of feminist activity that began in the early 1960s and lasted roughly 2 decades. It took place throughout the Western world and aimed to increase equality for women by building on previous feminist gains. Whereas first wave feminism focused mainly on suffrage and overturning legal obstacles to gender equality, voting rights, and property rights, second wave feminism broadened the debate to include a wider range of issues: sexuality, we want to be whores, family, domesticity, they didn't want to be in the house anymore, and the workplace, reproductive rights, de facto inequalities, and official legal inequalities. It was a movement that focused on critiquing the patriarchal or male-dominated institutions and cultural practices throughout society. Second wave feminism also drew attention to the issues of domestic violence and marital rape, creating rape centers, crisis centers, and women's shelters, and brought about changes in custody laws and divorce laws. Feminist-owned bookstores, credit unions, and restaurants were among the key meeting spaces and economic engines of the movement. All right. Let me see here. Which one to go to? Okay. All right. Hold on. So real quick second. Just look up one quick thing. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. I was just trying to see if I can get a straight name over who did it. But everybody think of like feminism, right?
Mhm.
What really came of second wave feminism?
Um,
What's the main thing? What's the main key? Some of the ones I mentioned already.
okay.
What's the main key of feminism?
I mean, well, so like this, I mean, the main key was so-called equal rights for women in the workplace. Like women could get equal pay
Mm-hmm.
in the workplace. Is that the main thing that came about?
Yeah, that's part of it. Most of it was jobs,
Mm-hmm.
winning jobs, and when the birth control came. right?
Okay.
Those are was that and reproductive rights. Those were the two main issues that they fought for. Because if you notice, all the other stuff that we did didn't really come to fruition. Like they were saying about rape, all of this stuff like that, right?
Okay.
When did um, marital rape really become illegal? Like the last 10 years, right? Maybe 20. I'm not saying it was illegal, but when they started making a fuss about it, when it became when it became, mainstream platform. When did it become platform? Over the last 10 years, right?
Okay.
When did the cancel movement, the Me Too movement come? The last 10 years, right?
That was last 10 years. Okay.
So of course that wasn't what benefited certain groups of people. What benefited, so what did they want? They wanted reproductive rights. They gave those to them.
Right.
With birth control, Planned Parenthood, right?
Right.
And then women coming into the workplace.
Right.
Instead of staying at home, they started demonizing you being a stay-at-home mom.
So like I said, not only we mentioned like the equal rights in the workplace, and also how you mentioned the I guess like the marital rights, but also equal rights in the workplace as far as well, not equal rights, so like it's for women to not be harassed in the workplace. So after the feminist movement, more complaints and files of sexual harassment in the workplace. So essentially, like a woman wanted to get more money, she had to do a sexual favor. She wanted to get a new position, she had to do a sexual favor. Even just trying to keep her job, she had to keep doing sexual favors, and they really fought against that. So
yeah, but then even still, when did that really stop anything? The last 20 years.
Right.
Second wave feminism was in the 60s.
Right.
Right? Why did it take so long? Because it was a few key things that they were focused on. The reproductive rights, so Planned Parenthood, birth control, right?
Okay.
And women coming into the workplace. Oh, let me see if I can find one other thing too. This is a big one right here. Now that this going to expose it right here. In the wake of the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade, major corporations are adding abortion travel costs to their employee benefits.
Right.
You know about that, right?
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. Who do you think planned for women to come into the workplace and their reproductive rights in the 60s and 70s?
Well, so like I said, if I had to take a guess, I would have to say the big corporations.
Exactly. They planned that. They the ones that put them on the news, help them produce all type of publications. The same,
Publications and propaganda.
Propaganda, all of that, right? They the ones that produced all of that. Why?
Oh, so I guess, sir.
Go ahead.
Well, naturally, because it's good for business.
But how is it good for business?
It's good for business because it oppresses black people.
Of course, that's always the main thing. But we're gonna get specific on it. Okay, I'll break it down for you real quick. All right, I got a couple of graphs. Right. See if I can find that other graph. There you go. Wait, somewhere. Yeah, I think I went over one of the graphs. Don't tell me I did that. Okay, Let me do this. Hold on 1 second. Somehow or another, I went over the graph some type of way. I go to my history.
So like you, sir.
Go ahead.
So okay, so all this time, when we're thinking that, like how America has been progressing, how like the laws have been changing, or even how quote unquote like biblical laws are done away with because like times are changing, or
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
so all this time when we're thinking that how like laws in America have changed, they've been modified, if you will, or how we were taught that saying like biblically, like laws have been done away with, like times are changing, and we modify and such. So all this time when we were thinking that, and really it wasn't changing because time was going on. Things only changed because our oppressors were secretly
Instrumented.
yeah, and they had different plans.
Yep. They were instrumented. So okay, I'm sure I can find it. Had the graph here. Is it right here? Okay. Now, let me get a couple more things. All right.
Okay.
Let me get a couple more. Um, all right. So, okay, let's go here. All right. Trying to see if I can get the wages. I have like a wages graph. It was like, I'm trying to see if I, somehow or another it went away. I'm not sure where it went. Okay. This is it right here. I wish I could make it bigger, but I don't think it'll let me. But this is right here showing the wages right here. You see how it had slowly inclined and kind of stayed up? And then right here, 1960, 70, it jumped up, and then it's been on a decline, and then it slowly started coming back up, right? The reason why I did that was because the one I had, it showed exactly what I wanted, but it showed like right around the 1970, it just dipped off. The reason why it dipped off was because now women entered the workplace. They wanted women to enter the workplace because now, you know about supply and demand, right?
Okay.
When more people are here, you have more workers, but you have less demand. So you don't have to pay as much.
Right.
It was a graph that literally showed me the steady incline of wages going up. Like, because it was a time that men worked and women stayed at home, right? You was able to support your whole family that way, right?
Right.
But then over time, it went up. 1960s and 70s, it dropped because that's when all the women came into the workplace. And then now, and you see, even with this, it says right now, $100 in 1960 is equivalent to about $1,000 today. Right? That's how much inflation has taken over. So, and that's why everything, especially now, everything is going up higher.
Right.
But your money ain't going up no higher.
That's right.
At all. Because this was all instituted, second wave feminism was instituted to make it so the wages don't have to increase. They can do a slowly incline. And then so what happens, when that happens, they still keep getting money because any business, they can rise up their prices or lower their quantity of what they're giving you.
Right.
Like even right now, it's been complaints because like on toilet tissue, you used to get like 200 sheets.
Right.
Now you're only getting a $1.80 or whatever the case is, right? They cut out the sheets and they're giving it to you the same price, or they're going to be like a thing of eggs. My wife, she went to buy one. One week it was $7. Next week it was $15.
Right.
So, or they either increase the price.
Right. Or so like you said, if I could, how years ago, after 9/11, all of a sudden there was a shortage on gas. And gas used to be at least $1.27, $1.25, maybe $1.50, and that was just regular.
Yeah.
But then after that so-called shortage, people just started going wild for it, and it just instantly jumped up to like $3. And since then it hasn't gone down since. The only reason it went down was because of COVID.
Yeah, it went down. Really.
That was it. But after like COVID, all of a sudden like the gas goes back up because it's like why lower the price back when people have been used to paying this price? We can actually get it for $3.50. Why would we send it back $2 more?
Yep, exactly. Like the one thing I was always told is like the logistics industry is always the first sign of they always get hit first when it comes to like a recession, which is true because the industry started getting hit beginning of this year.
Right.
All of the rates went down. Fuel started creeping up.
Right.
And then now, before you know it, the rates are trash. Like they're terrible. And the fuel is still high as hell.
Right.
So, but that's part of it, man. And like I said, it's because, and then here's the other thing too. I don't have time to get into everything because it's 9 o'clock now, but they sit around and do these studies, man.
Right.
They know that women spend more money than men. The only thing men really spend money for is things to get more women.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mostly, let's be honest, right? You want to buy nice clothes, buy a nice car, get more women, especially in the world, right? That's what you're doing. Get you an apartment, all of these things so you get more women. And women buy stuff because it's there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Women are much more spenders than men. So when men had the finances, was doing everything, the women were more responsible. But now you started making, they doing like an experiment with us. Like they made it so that now women, before second wave feminism and birth control and abortion, a woman had to be very careful who she had a baby with.
Right.
So she wanted to make sure a man had a decent job, he was a certain qualities, right?
Right.
So it wasn't as like today, they want you to be a lot more than just a regular dude, even though they're regular female,
right?
They want you to be a lot more these days, right?
Right.
Because at this time, they just wanted you to be stable because they prioritize stabilization over excitement these days. Right now, they just want excitement, right? So they seen that, they said, okay, because by then, women were typically married by 25. Before 30, you pretty much was married. Most people were.
Right.
By 30, right?
Right.
So they changed all of that because they knew women, if they can have an abortion or they have birth control, they could go and have sex with whoever they wanted to.
Right.
But once again, who did that benefit? Because once they started laying, they wasn't because now they can have sex with whoever they want, and then they can get rid of the baby. So that takes away all of the responsibility on who they choose to lay with.
Right.
They don't have that responsibility anymore, right? So when that happens, now the people that really get the benefit of that was the rich people.
Right.
Because they're gonna always lay with them. But think about it, during these days, women had morals. They didn't want to lay with somebody just because he was rich all of the time.
Right.
Because they say he rich, he just might want me for sex and throw me away. And I got a baby, I don't have child support.
Right.
None of these things they can rely on.
Right.
That's why you know the same time child support came, alimony, all these things came right then and there to make people more of a slave and make them slave labor to all of the corporations now. Because now you can't leave. You can't leave now because you can't leave this company working for them, making them all this money, and you can't slip up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you working in sales and you making them, probably making them $200 million a year, they pay you $200,000. You make them a $200 million though.
Right.
You can't slip up and have a bad year because your child support staying the same. Mm-hmm. Your alimony staying the same. All of that is staying the same. Go ahead.
Also, it's like if I could say if that was a woman making that, but not if she has a, you know what I'm saying, and she's like in the corporate, she's bringing these accounts in, so they're bringing their money, but now if she gets pregnant, she has to slow down. She can't be there.
Yep.
And now they lose money.
Exactly.
But of course now.
And they got to pay you maternity leave.
That's it. I was getting to that. And they got to pay you maternity leave. They don't want to do that.
Exactly. So what did I say on this last part? They will pay you to go get an abortion. Right. It's cheaper to pay you to get an abortion.
Right.
Pay for the whole trip, let you go for a whole weekend, than to pay for you for 2 months while you on maternity leave.
Right. And so like if I could,
go ahead.
They do this not because it's the right thing to do. They want support. It's good for business.
Exactly. Now you got my point.
Okay.
Get that brother ahead. Right there, brother ahead. Now you get my point. That's what it's all for.
Right.
To make you a slave laborer.
Right.
Even Labor Day is just to give you a day off of labor.
Right. So
you can go right back.
Right.
So all it is, give you a little day off so you feel good about it tomorrow. You really don't, but yeah. You're happy that Labor Day came. So you can have a day off, right? So that's all it comes for. It's better for business. So they're not doing, so women that think that this stuff is for business, they think, see, women have been brainwashed because they're a weaker vessel. Women think it's in their best interest for quote unquote reproductive rights, right? But that's realist,
right?
Because men don't have those same rights,
right?
Because once the chick get pregnant, what you gonna do? You stuck.
Yeah.
You still on took for child support. Ain't nothing you can do about that, really. Go ahead.
It's like, sir, if I could. Why do they call it reproductive rights?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
You're not reproducing anything.
Nope. But they coin stuff to make things sound better.
Catchy.
Yeah. Propaganda.
Right.
They say stuff because because now they said the government has control over your body. That's what they want to say. The government has control over your body. Because if you can't go and kill your baby. What about the baby's body?
Right.
You basically being God over the baby.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So the baby don't have a say. So why should you have a say? You made it.
Right.
You had a say before, and the same as men. You lay with her or you don't lay with her. Lay with a condom or you don't lay with a condom.
You lay with her, you stay with her.
Exactly. Well, I'm talking about brothers in the world right now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's why when you label somebody, you're supposed to stay with them.
Right.
Because that's what gives you that. That's what people are supposed to do.
Right.
Right. But now you can just go label somebody, and now you have no repercussions from it. That's why even the popes, we know they were, in the Catholic Church, they felt as though laying with boys was a way, it was guiltless because there was never a proof of it that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
But no proof. They didn't have video cameras, right?
Right.
So you go lay with little Timmy, nobody know. He can't get pregnant and say he got a baby.
Right.
So that's what they made it. Basically they brought the Roman Catholic Church into all of them, which already was in America, but they made that sexual deviant part all in America now.
Right.
So now you could lay with whoever you want to, and you ain't got to stay with them. They actually incentivize women to leave. Women file for 80% of divorces. 80%.
Right.
Because they get a paycheck on the way out.
Right.
I heard of a man, he had to give his woman 50,000. It's a black couple. They've been together 20-some years. He had, I don't know every term of his divorce, but I know just to leave, he had to give her $50,000. That was one part of the divorce. They were pretty decent off. They weren't like hurting. They were probably upper middle class. He probably was like maybe like $200,000 a year earner.
Mm-hmm.
So he was doing all right, but he had to give her $50,000 cash, even though the woman, she ain't worked, and I don't know, I ain't never seen her work. And I didn't know them 15 years.
That's why.
She's never worked.
That's why.
So, but he had to give her 50 grand cash, and he had to pay her alimony. And she left.
Crazy.
Not him, she left.
Right.
So, and I never heard the word quote unquote cheating in the whole thing.
Infidelity.
Yeah, whatever they want to call it. You know what I'm saying? I never heard that one time.
Right.
So that just go to show that that's what your Labor Day is. It's slavery.
Right.
It's still slavery. It's just they try to make you feel good, and okay, yeah, you're gonna get your reproductive rights. What is that? You know that, man, that sound good.
Right.
You getting reproductive rights. Well, you got the same reproductive rights. Like, let's be honest, if you went and stuck a what's the name up in your uterus, and that they get rid of the baby, nobody gonna stop you. All right?
All right.
They fighting because they want to be able to go to a clinic with a doctor and let them do it. But no, but the way I look at it, if you killing a baby, you need to be at risk of dying yourself.
That's right. Well, so like I said, if I could, before we get out of here, I think those women are tired of falling down the stairs, sir.
Exactly.
Tired of falling down the stairs. Sir.
Exactly. So, I don't think nobody got on the conference call. Anybody on the conference call?
No, sir. Wow.
All right. All right, with that, pass class over to precinct officer, Dharma.
Okay. I.S.U.P.K security announcements. With I.S.U.P.K started at 1 West, 125th Street, Hall, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother and sister comes to school, they are off limits for 6 months. They will be saluted only. They hit to share themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if the brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must give permission from the head to speak to that brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will give permission from the head to marry. Ties within the commandment come from the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and also the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 8 through 10. Which means tip in the Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give it to the treasury department or the teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. What's the amount you like to give? Upcoming holy convocations is the memorial of the blowing of the trumpets, taking place September 25th. sundown. Reminder for any occupant aqua, check the bulletin board in the hallway. If any brother wants to be a trooper to school, start wearing black, all black at all times. That's boots, shirts, pants, headbands, and war scarves. And also please remember to Google the address 3353 Glenwood Road, Decatur, Georgia. That should help build the algorithm for the school. And with that, we'll give a courtesy salute for the teacher. Ben Israel, Aman Shabbat, Aman Barak, Yahanna Shabbat. What we just said in Hebrew, may the Most High, in the name of Christ, bless you. Yamatai, hands down, class dismissed.